two brand new drivers from Mizuno Golf, the STZ and the STX. Or is it Z? Both of these drivers feature the Cortex chamber. And also both of them are making use of the missing piece. In this video, we're going to check out the looks, the feels, the sounds, the cost, who might game these clubs, and the all-important performance. So Mizuno is saying this is the driver that could lift them out of the shadow of their already iconic irons. And when I look at the two clubs, just instantly, they look fantastic, like really classy. They look as good as anything out there. And that led me on to another question, thinking, why are people just not testing or buying this driver as much as some of the others? So I put it out to my Twitter audience, and you can see that people just aren't really playing Mizuno drivers, yet the irons, the shadow is very clear to still see. What is it that's making you not test Mizuno drivers? It's a medium to loud sound, so it's a real combination between carbon and a titanium face. So if we put like stealth carbon face down at the duller sounding, not bad duller, or the ping at the top end of the acoustic sounds, like tingier, this sits right in the middle. And in the neutral neck settings, the way they sit is so subtle. I mean, they sit pretty square to my eye. So if we compare that up to the X, a fraction louder, like a fraction, not much. Just sounds really good. Definitely not the looks that are stopping people from putting this club in their testing regimes. Not much. I'd say this one feels slightly louder. So who are these drivers for? I was lucky enough to talk to Chris Volscher, one of the guys who'd actually designed the club, and he told me...
So honestly, what I'd say is the fitting determines who each one is for.
Which is an interesting concept, isn't it? Because even though we've got two drivers here, so one with a straight setting and one here with a more draw bias setting, so you see the weight is a little bit more in the heel. What Chris is saying from their staff of tour pros from the men and women's tour that use this club is that it's pretty much 50-50 split. It's not that the draw bias is just sold to the golfer who isn't as good, which is the common belief. I do a podcast with PGA Tour player Greg Chalmers and Lou Stagner, our stat guy. Greg Chalmers uses a draw driver.
What?
Yeah, he does, because he likes to see a draw. He's a left-hander, so this way. So he uses a driver that sets up for him. So out of these two, if he was to game them, he would probably go with the X, the one with the shorter distance between the centre of gravity and the neck, the draw bias. Often for companies, it's much easier to say the things that we understand or the things that the consumer understand, because it's easier to sell rather than confusing them. But what Mizuno are doing is just saying, no, look, these clubs are not like, they're not built like that. They're built for whoever they are fit for. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they don't sell as many, because they're being quite honest with their design. So when it comes to the cost of these two clubs, they're coming in at £500, which is around $611. That does, for me, surprise me. I personally would want these drivers around £100, so let's say around $120 cheaper than all the other top brands, because I do think there needs to be an incentive to buy them, because I'll be surprised if these are doing anything more. I don't think they're going to be doing anything less, but when it comes to driver brands in people's heads, as we've already seen, Mizuno just isn't at the top. So the price, I'm going to say, that's quite expensive. So I captured data as I was warming up. I love to do this with drivers that I'm hitting and irons and other clubs that I'm reviewing, because I start to hit all over the face. It's more of an array of speeds, an array of strikes as I'm trying to warm up to get to speed. And the numbers were really interesting. I definitely saw a slight more draw bias in the X, like a fraction. It was small. I saw both of these drivers where the spin was dropping under 2,000, because my miss hit as I'm warming up is a low spinning club, but they were 1,009 around each, which is pretty good sustainability for miss hits. An average carry around 272 to 277 with the Z. But because they were miss hits, these numbers were really crossing over in the standard deviations. They were very, very similar. I was feeling more that I liked the straight, the Z, because I'm not so much of a draw bias kind of a golfer. Now, was that the Cortex chamber? Was that the missing piece that was helping me? And obviously, what are the full out numbers? These are the warm-up numbers. So these are comparing me going a lot of miss hits. I can't wait to show you the numbers at the end to show you how exceptional or not they actually are. Because when I get warm, yeah, I get going. Speed up, Mark. So with those missits performing pretty well, what's doing it? Well, Mizuno are going to say it's the Cortex chamber, and it's also the missing bit. Yes, they found it! I was looking for ages for it. Now, what this Cortex chamber and this missing bit does is it adds flex but stability around the face to try and transfer more ball speed onto the ball when you are hitting it all over the face, and certainly from the middle as well. Obviously, the two big design factors with both clubs is you've got one which has the weight more towards the heel and one towards the back, but remember what Chris said,
fitting determines who each one is for.
So yeah, I saw a slight draw bias, but again, I could see why I might still use that if I wanted to hit that shape, aim down the right and shape it that way more. We've got the newer version of the Forged Beta Titanium face. Again, Chris is saying it's that little bit thinner, allowing for more transfer of energy, which is why they're saying there's an exceptional ball speed, which we will test. That anyone can say there's exceptional ball speed, can't they? I could say I've got exceptional ball speed, and I haven't. You got different grip options, shaft options, as I said before. It's just the two heads, then you dial in the next. We got a lovely Running Bird logo on the head cover, ST branding, and the Mizuno colorways. That looks super cool. So plenty of tech. Again, as much tech as anything out there. Are the ball speeds exceptional? So now I'm at full speed. Let's see what these two drivers can do. Now, if we look at distance, what was really interesting is that the Z, the one I prefer, just snuck it on the averages. Bear in mind the standard deviations on these two clubs did cross, so I think you could get them to match up. But for me, the Z just snuck it. The lower spinning Z gave me that little bit of extra distance. But again, if you custom foot these fully up, I reckon you could match them up. It's just that the X isn't really going to appeal to me. And you can see that in the ball speeds. The ball speeds are almost identical, with the Z, again, just slightly edging it. So are the ball speeds exceptional? Are these exceptional speed drivers? Well, they're not. They're in the masses. They're in the middle, which is exactly where most drivers are, and those are the ones that you are buying. Exceptional for me on this day would have been averaging like 164, but I don't think any driver would have averaged 164. I think most drivers I would have hit on this day, if I did a side-by-side day comparison, would come out at these numbers. So are they exceptional? Well, they're exceptional at being exceptionally normal, which is exceptional. So with these two drivers being able to appeal to any demographic of golfer, I think they could be one of the better drivers out there on the market. I don't think they will though, because I think it's a real good lesson in marketing. I think if you're looking for a driver that has as much tech as anything out there, ball speeds, possibilities, subject to you going fit, and remember, you need to go and get fit for yourself, as strong as anything, fitting options as strong as anything. It's got a Cortex chamber. They found the missing bit. I mean, what? And drivers that look as good as anything. And it's obviously coming from a company that has years and years of heritage and tradition in making club. Granted, lots of that is around the forging and the irons. I get that. Mizuno is a world-leading brand. Like, you're gonna get quality. Let me know in the comments, is it a driver you would try or not? And if not, why not? If so, what makes you try it? Is it that your pros got it? Is it so you have got access to it? You'll drive to hunt it out. Let me know. I'd be really interested. As always, thanks for watching. If you like the video, hit that like button. Really helps the video out. Don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button as well. Remember, new reviews, tips, and course vlogs come in every week to help you enjoy your golf more.